Hey, welcome to a foreigner in the Philippines. I can't help but be interested in how they do scaffolding. Look at this is all bamboo. And look how they use that. And I guess that they can do a tourniquet. They can do an extra turn on that to tighten it up. And then tie it with a bit of, as I said, plastic string and a bow. And they'll go up high with that. At that end there, look, you can see the scaffolding goes right up to the top. What happened?
It's all closed.
It's all closed, that's why.
These sleepers are the one who work there.
See this I'm sure is part full painted. And nice work. So don't forget what we're looking at now, as we're looking at the work that was done by endless physical labor by workers who worked without thought of time. They did what they did to a certain standard, probably, or else. And they did what they did, and there was no time restriction. That's why somebody would be told that there were, let me see how many of these to be made, and they'd be made a little bit. And so you have work that's done like this. This could never be done nowadays, I don't think, unless you were in Florida, and you might have something like this done out of polystyrene and then sprayed with cement. That's what they do. I was amazed to see that. But then all this, look, here we got the serpent again. I have to say that the serpent isn't regarded the same in China as it is in the West, where we think of it as the serpent, and on a Christian basis, we're looking at the fall of man. Didn't all that start with the devil incarnate as the serpent? So it seems that at every doorway there would be sentinels. And look at that, that's of a lady on a horse, very grand looking, and a servant underneath would be holding the bit, and another one there. And very nice expressions, so everybody very happy with this. So what's the scene? What do you think the scene is for this little sculpture? Well, I'm saying little, it's about 4 feet and probably weighs several hundred pounds. But it stands on a platform which is probably about 4 or 5 inches thick, and it's been sunk into the pavement so that it seems to be sitting on the pavement itself, but it doesn't, of course. What are the scenes? This one, the lady, she must be a lady. She has grand robes on. Look at all the livery on the horse, all of that. And this beautiful headdress. And a lovely hairstyle. And she's playing what I think is something like a lute. Now this here was obviously made to take something else, which would be flags or something like that, and those are the holes for it, and it's been removed. But look, she's got very grand robes on there, and if she's outside this doorway or a doorway, she will be there for a purpose. And the same for this one, although this could be a gentleman. And what does he have in his hand? Really not sure what that is. But it has a barrel here, and the barrel would contain some kind of beverage, wine. Look at that. Great coiled headdress, all coiled around, and then the last thing has a bolt through there. Not a bolt, of course. But he has pretty grand flowing robes, and his horse as well is grand. So all of these statues all tell a story. I guess it's up to us to put our own interpretation to the story. Look at this man. Now that is beautiful, and he's a wise man. It's beautiful sculpture. Look. But he has fairly simple robes. And he's holding up a parchment, and he's pointing onto something in the parchment. He has simple robes with just a simple cord, and there's no real embellishment on that. So the story, I would think, is a teacher. Very nice expression. It has a simple headdress. As I say, he's got a parchment and he's pointing there. So I'm guessing a teacher. What does anybody else think? A teacher, but you know, maybe a tutor. Maybe a tutor. Well, let's have a look at the next guy. Now, because I lack the religious knowledge to be able to give any kind of an idea on all of these Buddhas, you know, there are literally hundreds of them. And I know that every one of them has some kind of significance, but I'm looking here at, well, this looks like a platform for something, and that looks like it was a plug that was made afterwards, so something was in there at some point. And you've got the same on the other side. Look. And these are, well, quite jolly, and they're not warriors, because they don't even have a ceremonial sword or dagger. Ah, there we go. Why would somebody do that? So you can see that there's a hole there. Maybe that was to have some liquid, I don't know, a cup or something, but something must have been made to go in there, and even that is really nice. And look how they've done the beautiful folds. Look. This is really fun to do. If you go on my YouTube, if you go on my Facebook, you can see a bed that I made, and it was a folded flag, an almost American folded flag. I didn't put the stars in, I just put the stripes. So you can see that, and you can see how I've enjoyed doing this kind of folding, how these folds happen, and they really give body, they give depth. Look how deep that looks there. And if you look at his expression, right, let me see, what would you say? Well, he's smiling, isn't he? Look, there's a smile there, and his eyes are turned up and slightly crinkled. So he is happy. That's a happy person. And he's holding this, which, well, it looks like a flower, but I wouldn't like to make that judgment. It's a little bit worn. But you've got that. You've got the one on the other side. Now this is, it's much clearer as to how he is looking. Definitely smiling. And the eyes turned up. And the mouth turned up. So definitely smiling. And he's also holding the same thing, but it's still not quite clear as to what that is. Maybe this goes with this. And somebody out there is going to say, well, of course it does, it's a no-brainer. And there's that lovely deep look again, and right down to the feet. And these are quite elaborate costumes, and quite an elaborate headdress. And I think in those days, and I'm only making a guess now, probably one of our subscribers is going to correct me on this, but I think that the more elaborate the headdress, the higher the office of the person. So a mere tutor, like that one over there, would have a very simple headdress. And then someone like this would be a revered, wise person, I would think. Now, I had a wife somewhere. Beth? Well, it doesn't say take your shoes off, so I'm walking through. Now this is a model of, dare I say it, another serpent. What does it say? It's a roof ornament. It's presumably from what pole? It could be an original crafted during the reign of King Rama III in the mid-19th century, or more than 170 years ago. It was made from a gigantic log over 17 feet long, lacquered and decorated with lead-coated glass, which actually didn't seem to have worked very well. Evidence suggests that it has been restored using iron splints. The roof ornament may have been broken in the late 19th century. So, what a shame. See, but it looks like you've got that mosaic on there again. Little tiny thin. Yes, there. It doesn't actually say what it's supposed to be. when you look at a lot of this kind of work, yeah, that's where the metal splint is, the splint. When you look at this kind of work, if you go online and look at Gaudi, if you look at the work of Gaudi, Gaudi was an architect, sculptor, artist from Spain. Spain reveres Gaudi very much, and a lot of his roofs were made in this kind of thing. He used the mosaics and made roofs look as if they were rolling in a sea. It was amazing work, and he takes this kind of thing and takes it to include all kinds of parts of his work. You can see here. So Gaudi, G-A-U-D-I. Have a look at the work of Gaudi. Just tremendous, beautiful work. Yet another one of the books that I had to lovingly say goodbye to when I came out to the Philippines. So I think that my wife felt abandoned because I started off on my reverie of looking at the different sculptures. No, there she is. Or is she? Did you get tired of waiting for me, darling? What, huh?
No, I'm just looking the view.
Yes.
I'm just amazed how they work. Their workmanship.
Beautiful. And look at this. Look, there's that scaffolding that I'm talking about again. Gosh. Incredible. And like I say, it's all tied together. Tied together with a bit more substantial than the straw, which I saw in Hong Kong. But nevertheless, of course these, no, they are made of stone, I think. Well, they're not hollow, so they're made of stone, and then they're actually painted to look as if, well, as if they're jade. Either that or weathered copper, brass, some of those kinds of things. That's how you get this. When I was in California, I actually went and had some tuition at art classes, and the man, I actually did some work for him. That's how I found out about him. He was a forensic artist working for LA Police Department, and he was one of those people who back then, using drawing rather than the identikit approach that they have on computer now, but he taught classes, and one of the things he taught me was how to make something that's made of stone look like this, as if it's metal, by using base coat of black and then going on with lighter tones of green, which you would take a sponge, and once you had the black, usually flat black, so flat black or ultra flat black paint, which is what you see here, and then you would dip the sponge into the green paint, and then you would squeeze it, and it would go down, and it would give you the same weathered look as this has obviously stood out here for God knows how long. And this shiny part here is how people look at. You don't look at sculpting, you actually touch it, you feel it and hold it. As something happens when you do that, another perception, sensory thing comes in, and you start to feel and look at it in a different way. There's something different about it, and you can see how people do that because these parts are polished. and my wife's disappeared again. Right, and we got another doorway. So you look through this doorway, and you look through that doorway. Now this is a warrior, and you can tell by this particular kind of staff, come lance, come sword on a stick. And if you are into martial arts, you will have seen Donnie Yen use this weapon, and I think it's Donnie Yen is a master at this, as of course is Jet Li, and they use these on a much longer lance, I think. But once again, you've got this elaborate freestanding beard, which is so wonderful, and he's definitely at ease. He's neither smiling nor frowning, and he has a nice headdress, so he would be of some importance. And he's got these lovely decorations on the elbow and the flags. Now I'm thinking that these are flags rather than what I thought at first, which was that they were scrolls of some kind. But even then, they still have a motif on them. If you look, the leopard, or certainly a tiger, leopard, tiger. And on this, more of a mythical figure that's reptilian. If you look, that figure there looks like a gargoyle. And this man, I don't know, he's a happier looking one, but same again. So these must be definite. Happy looking tiger. Nice headdress again. And all the nice folds. Now look at that. He's got, I'm taking it that this is like armour, and better not go for his midriff, because that's a pretty fierce, what can we call that? Protector of his midriff. Same again. That would be on the same idea as the butterflies that have what looks like a fierce face on their wings, a design of a fierce face on their wings, and when they were at rest, when they were doing their job of pollinating, they would have some protection, that some bird that would look at them would think that they might be in more trouble than they would cause, so they'd leave them alone. That was the idea. So again, got more statues giving more pictures. Okay, I'll go and look for my wife. She's here somewhere, but she gets tired of me waffling. Who could blame her? This is a foreigner in the Philippines at the Wat Po Palace.